Welcome to all our viewers of CCR TV. This is the third episode on health, food and Bible presented to you by St. John's Ambulance in Goa. We have today Dr. Jorson Fernandez, who is the chairman of the St. John's Ambulance. He is the surgeon examiner and ear, nose and throat specialist. We also have with us engineer Kenneth Lopish, who is the assistant secretary for St. John's Ambulance Association, and I am Jovit Lopish, the general secretary for the association. We have seen in the last two episodes what is really causing damage to our health, and we talked about sugars, that simple sugars are or could be very dangerous. But there is an alternative and you don't have to bother, as Kenneth will take you to good sugars, the complex sugars.
We begin with complex carbs, complex carbohydrates, and complex carbohydrates have a very important role in the body. They support the immune system, very important role in brain function, the nervous system. This is a good source of energy. When we talk about the sugar in complex carbs, it releases gradually. So this reduces our hunger pangs, a good option to look when you're talking about sugars, and has important roles in the digestive function as well. So our focus needs to be on atta, not maida. Maida, remember, is a refined flour, and we need to look out for good sources of complex carbohydrates. Brown rice, your ukde tandoor. Remember to have potatoes with skin. Sweet potatoes is an excellent source of complex carbohydrates. Brown bread. Now, when we talk about brown bread, a word of caution over here. Many a times, the color brown is because of the use of caramelized sugar. So a tip over here would be to look at the price index of the brown bread that you buy. So be alert. Whole wheat, millets, excellent sources of complex carbohydrates. Remember, we also get complex carbohydrates from vegetables, whole grain pasta, oatmeal, fruits and barley. We spoke about millets. Now, millets like bajra, ragi. Ragi is a nachni. If you remember in the days of old, and some people still continue with tisan, this is an excellent source of complex carbohydrates. So also sorghum, jowar. And the added advantage that millets have is that they provide plenty of phosphorus and magnesium. Finger millets pack more calcium than any other cereal. Besides this, they are rich in B vitamins, iron, potassium, zinc, and have a low glycemic index. This is beneficial for diabetic patients, so multiple benefits. Sprouting is easy for all of us to do, and sprouting increases the level of minerals and vitamins, including vitamin D in the ingredients. Most of the gas producing starches can be eliminated by sprouting. We come to the third type of carbohydrate, the third type of sugar, and that is fiber. So fiber is basically roughage or bulk. It exists in two forms. The first is insoluble fiber, and this contributes to preventing constipation by giving bulk to your stools and helping getting things moving in your intestines. So good sources of insoluble fiber include foods with whole wheat flour, wheat bran, brown rice, cauliflower, potatoes with skin, tomatoes and cucumbers. Soluble fibers, the other type of fibers, also help prevent constipation by keeping your stools from becoming too dry. Good sources of this fiber include beans, lentils, oatmeal, peas, citrus fruits, blueberries, apples and barley. Remember to have your apples with the skin. Some foods like nuts and carrots, these are good sources of both type of fiber. So the fiber basically is like a broom, it is the jadu. We come to the second macronutrient, and that is fats. Unfortunately, fats over a period of time have also got a bad reputation. To avoid or to get past a lot of the health issues, a lot of people went on to or migrated onto low fat, no fat diets in the hope that a lot of these health issues would go away, but not all of them did. And fat is a macronutrient. It has a number of functions, such as it helps in cell growth, blood clotting, building new cells, reducing the risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes, muscle movement, balances blood sugar, helps in brain functioning, mineral and vitamin absorption, hormone production, and in these COVID-19 times, a very important function, as always with fat, is it helps in immune function. Among the many roles that fat has, remember it is also required by our body for certain fat soluble vitamins, that is A, D, E and K. Now fat is most definitely a super energy, which is why it is stored as reserves in our body, and we need to now select good fats. So good fats are mono unsaturated and poly unsaturated fats. This means there are certain fats we need to limit, those are saturated fats, and as we will see, a certain group of trans fats which need to be avoided. 20 to 35% are the number of calories that we need to get from healthful fats. We spoke about saturated fats which need to be limited, and these are derived largely from animal products like meat, dairy and eggs, but you also have some plant-based sources. When we spoke about unsaturated fats, that is your mono unsaturated and poly unsaturated fats, they also have a very vital component in them, and that is your omega-3 fatty acids. When we speak of trans fats, now remember trans fats are naturally occurring and these aren't considered harmful. However, the artificially manufactured trans fats, these are basically hydrogenated vegetable oils, and these are what have serious health consequences. Natural trans fats are found in small amounts in things like the meat of beef and lamb and dairy products as well as butterfat. Again, we say that moderate intake of natural trans fats does not appear to be that harmful, and this is because of CLA, which is your conjugated linoleic acid. Artificial trans fats, now here is the problem area. These are definitely hazardous to your health, and we spoke about vegetable oils which are chemically altered, and they are chemically altered so that they stay solid at room temperature, and this is what gives them a longer shelf life. So why are trans fats or artificial trans fats used? They are used because they are easy to use, they are inexpensive to produce, and yes, they last a long time. Trans fats also gives food a desirable taste and texture, and many restaurants and fast food outlets use trans fats to deep fry food because oil with trans fats can be used many times in commercial fryers. Now, countries which have woken up to the dangerous effects of these artificial trans fats have already started banning their use. And when it comes to India, the WHO and FSSAI are working to eliminate the presence of TFAs from industrially produced cooking oil. According to the WHO, we should not get more than 1% of energy from TFA. There was a report, a WHO report, which was done in India, and it said that Indian snacks contain between 6 to 30% of TFA. This far exceeds the safe limit of 2%. And one survey, which was done on street food in Delhi and Haryana, found that 25% of snacks contained high TFA levels. What are these snacks? Snacks such as samosas, gulab jamuns, and jalebis prepared in vanaspati reportedly contained 50% of fat in the form of TFA. Some foods like chocolates and wafers, shortening, margarine, burgers, French fries, fried chicken, pizza, pastries, these are some foods where you would find these artificial trans fats. And yes, they have health problems such as dyslipidemia, heart diseases, diabetes, liver dysfunction, fertility issues, Alzheimer's disease, depression, and some types of cancer. It's pretty easy. We need to read the labels of the food that we purchase, and we need to look out for keywords such as refined, hydrogenated, or partially hydrogenated, reflecting in these labels. Avoid such foods. To put it in a nutshell, you would find artificial trans fats in breakfast cereals, margarine, fried food, potato chips, crackers, frozen pizza, vegetable shortening, microwave popcorn, pie crusts and pastries, frosting, non-dairy coffee creamers. I'm sure you'll say this is a never-ending list. But if you analyze this list, if you look closely, you will realize that most of the items on this list are fast foods. We spoke about unsaturated fats, and we said that omega-3 is what gives it a lot of benefits. Likewise, there is also omega-3 fatty acids. So these unsaturated fats are important for our body as they provide essential fatty acids which our body can't make, which means we need to consume them. We come to refined oils, and we see these beautiful beautifully packaged refined oil bottles lining up the shelves on our supermarkets. They look really good. They seem very transparent, very attractive. But remember, refined oils are processed. They are cleaned with chemicals, and most come from genetically modified corn, canola, or soy, and all of which require chemicals like hexane. Now, those of you who know what hexane is, it is a petroleum solvent, and it is used as an industrial degreaser. The process involved in refining these oils means that they have to be heated to a very high temperature, and it is this heat that oxidizes the oil. And what is oxidation? Oxidation basically creates free radicals, and these free radicals damage the cells of our bodies. So yes, it is best to avoid them. What do we turn to? Where do we go? We focus on unrefined oils. Unfortunately, in the past, unrefined oils have also been looked down upon. We had ghani tel, which was again looked down upon because of the smell which came from it. Ghan matta mantale ami. So this is but where we need to go to. And remember that these unrefined fats enhance our immune and endocrine system, are needed for energy, and help play an important role in the health of our bones. Olive oil, virgin coconut oil, red palm oil, ghee, avocado, these are examples of healthy oil. When we speak of ghee, now ghee has medium chain fatty acids, and this can be processed by the liver and burned as energy easily. Ghee also contains omega-3, and as we said, omega-3 fatty acids can help decrease your levels of unhealthy cholesterol and provide an energetic balance to your fat intake. Ghee also has butyric acid, and butyric acid can supercharge your immune system. So when we look at enhancing our immunity, we know what kind of foods we are looking at. We come to the end of this session and look forward to having you next time.
We have just heard Kenneth talking about the need for energy, and energy is needed for all of us to work, to do everything. And we know that fats are super energy. Lot of controversy over fats and oils. And now people in Goa talk about virgin coconut oil. The Western world talks about olive oil. And they often say that Jesus always talked about olives and olive oil. And we know that, yes, it is sure that Jesus talked about olive oil, because in Jerusalem, the tree that gives oil is your olives and olive oil. I am sure if Jesus had to come in Goa, he would have found coconuts, and maybe perhaps it would have been coconut oil. The red palm oil also is being used extensively, and we have with us our own chairman of the St. John's Ambulance. He's the chief surgeon for ENT, and he's also a farmer in his own right. And I am sure, Dr. Johnson, you'll be able to throw more light on oils and fats.
We will do that, yeah.
Yeah. People in Goa are now talking about virgin coconut oil. What is your say?
I would go backwards because I remember when I was a small kid and we had our grandmother living with us that time. The work that was given to us, the task that was given to us as a small child was a dabba, where a biscuit dabba where it was being put in the hot sun. They used to put a malmal cloth on top of that, and तातून भितर एक चुट्टी आसताली बरी धुवन बीन ती घालपाची. Significance of that at that moment of time we never understood. ते मलमल ताजे वयल्यान क्लॉथ घातले की ना तो वताक दवरपाचो सकाळ फुडें व्हरून. थंयच्यान दवरलो तो सांजचो भितर हाडपा जाय. हें काम आमचें. This is what we had to do. And this was repeatedly going on. ती चुट्टी भितर ग्रीन आहा ती ब्रावन जावपा जाय. ते लुगट काडप ना. ते लुगट हाली गिरणीचेर वतगीर काडपाचें. माथ्यार दवरून तो डब्बो घेवन गिरणीचेर व्हरपाचें. तुगेले ते खबरे आसा ते भितर घाल, तेल तातून काड. Now, this is what the system prevailed at time. And I was always thinking for myself, why these people are every time telling us to take the dabba out and in and out and in as well. You can put it on the fire and boil it and finish it off. You can put water, it will get sterilized. But then they were looking forward for the ultraviolet rays of the sun that would help them to sterilize, and the hot sun, because that was the thing that they had. Firewood was very little that was available. So they would sterilize the dabba before the oil could get in. And I still also remember, as the winter months could come in, December, January, तेल आमचें शिकेतालें, it would become solidified. ते मागीर बोट घालून काडपाचें माथ्याक बित्याक घालपाक. But the oil would never get spoiled. Today you get oils that are there, and the day you put your finger, the next day you have to throw out the bottle. And we talk about them that they are processed oil. What process goes on into that I do not know. But I still think that my grandmother was more wiser and had better wisdom than the people who are giving us the oils through their corporates and who have been using science and technology. Having said that, आमचे कडेन तेन्ना नाल आशिल्ले पळय ते नाल म्हण कितें ते तसलेच नाल काडून करपाक ते गुडगुडे नाल म्हण आसताले ते गुडगुडे नाल बील आसा ते उजा करप ना. They used to use it for different purpose altogether. So they knew exactly how they should be going about and what should be done. When we talk about this virgin oil today, yes, there are a lot of compounds that are needed for us in terms of our immunity, and especially during this time of pandemic, which is very important for us. And I'm happy that today many people are now going for this virgin coconut oil, but it should be made available in plenty because it is cost effect is also there, a little bit a higher cost, but it should be made available for the people. But I do not know how the industry that is giving us the refined oil would be feeling about it and how they'll be killing these people. Because we see once there is a corporate competition, everybody wants to tide over the other. They pick up on smaller things and they finish those small little indigenous companies which are good for health are being killed. And they are being sabotaged and they are being finished and ruined and destroyed. That should not happen. And therefore, it is very important, pertinent for all of us to give this health education to the people so that people start realizing which is a better oil for all of us, whether we cook, fry or whatever it is, and in what proportion and what components we should be using it.
Dr. Johnson, we have been talking about coconut oil and what was done then and what is being done now, and we have got now refined oils.
Yeah, we do get refined oil, but when we talk about the coconut oil and when we talk about the virgin coconut oil, the difference is we are not taking those coconuts which have been totally dried up when we are going to take the virgin oil, because I myself is a farmer. I have got red oil palm. I've also got coconut plantation. So the person who is coming to take my harvested coconuts, he always chooses. So I give him the first preference because this is the healthy oil that we are going to get into the market or whoever is using it. So he chooses the coconuts from the whole lot that is there. And accordingly, he takes it off from there. And the remaining, whatever is being left behind, we keep it for ourselves. We use it for various purposes, maybe for grating and curries and things like that. But he chooses coconuts which are a little bit greenish, which are not totally dried up, is what he chooses because he wants to extract that virgin oil.
But sorry to interrupt you, but the trend today is on supermarkets refined oils.
Right.
So are they really good or?
No, when we are talking about refined oil, the process that is being used into that, where they are going to remove all, because that's the way the corporate would talk. This is pure oil. There are no dirt into it. There are no contaminated things into it. This is how they will talk about. आम्ही पहिले घाण्यार तेल काढताले. Metal काढताले पळे. Metal is the one that smells very bad. If you start frying into that, the whole house starts smelling. But that is one of the best oils that we had. And that time, दांती ती आमची दोन फातर आणि तातून भितर तें गुंडोवपाचें and the oil was being extracted. There was no much heat onto that. And we know now when you heat the oil, what compounds are being produced. So this is what was significant for us, and we have to go back to those old ways and methodologies of processing our oil and from the various type of fruits that are available, whether it's groundnut or whether it is coconut or whether it is oil palm now that we have got.
But today also with the use of insecticides, pesticides, and now you are using herbicides, the whole scenario leads to Alzheimer's, Parkinson's and all that.
Yeah, even genetic modification take place because of this, apart from Alzheimer's disease. Now, as a farmer, I still remember the very first time that I went in, I was a neonate into it and I couldn't understand much. And I had people who told me that this is the proportion that you have to put in, this is the amount of fertilizer that you have to apply for each of the tree. So I used to buy the fertilizer in bulk and I used to measure it, and then I used to tell my ladies and my employees to put that fertilizer for the oil palm and for the coconut. And what happened was, there was a rivulet that was there just next to my farm, just about 500 meters away. Everybody would come with a stick, they would dig inside there and they would get the earthworms, and with those earthworms in a small tin, they would go for fishing. After about 1.5 years to 2 years, nobody would come to my farm. So I thought, is it because of barricading? But as we started digging up a little bit here and there, we found there were no earthworms at all. Everything disappeared. So we realized that this chemical fertilizer that we have used has caused the death of a small little animal called as an earthworm, a creature called as an earthworm inside. So we had to change over. So we switched over. One side they are saying you have to put this, otherwise your product production will go down. The other side, yes, it has to be economically viable farming activity. So we switched over, and what did we do? We started using our cow dung, we started using poultry dung into that, and at the same time a little bit of chemical fertilizer to balance it. Today we have got the agriculture department that tests our soil and then tells us what should be used and what should not be used. But when we are talking about herbicides, when we are talking about the insecticides, when we are talking about the pesticides, some of these are being absorbed through the sap of the plant and they come out through the fruits. And DDT is one such compound which you find as part of these insecticide herbicides that we use, which goes through the sap, comes through the fruit, and we consume it. And when we consume it, there are a lot of genetic aberrations that are taking place, which we need to be very, very careful about. Even when we have today the weeds that are growing in, we have got sprays that we use in so that these weeds are dying their death. But then again, whatever weedicide that you're going to use, it is going to be absorbed through the soil, and you are leaving it there.
Because Monsanto is using
Yes.
the glyphosate.
Right.
And I believe glyphosate has been killing a lot of bees and all that.
Right. You will find them, they are becoming lesser and lesser today. And that is what has been happening today. So to bring a balance about all this, how do we go about? One is that mechanization of agriculture that we have done. Two is, are we ready to work like how we had our earlier people working into our farm? Because today you don't get laborers, and even if you get them, they are very, very costly. It doesn't become viable. Farming doesn't become a viable component for us. And that's where people start using all these type of weedicides, and they make it shorter for themselves, they make it something economically viable for them. But as a result of which, what you destroy is your own land. You are destroying your own table water that is there, and you are destroying the sap and the fruits which you are going to give it for consumption for others and for yourself, and you are destroying your own health. So these are things which you have to look at a wholesome level rather than just looking at it as a closed compartment. Okay, I do this, I sell my fruits, the rest of the things I'm not bothered about. That doesn't happen that way.
But now we are talking about organic foods, but the organic foods are quite expensive.
Right. They are expensive is basically because there are a lot of labor that goes into it, and you are trying to keep the whole land table of yours without any impurities as such. When I'm talking about impurities, I'm talking about the herbicides, I'm talking about the insecticides, I'm talking about the pesticides. They had their own methodologies of doing and dealing with these things. They used to use the neem leaves and the water of that. They used to extract juice out of that, and they used to use repellents, because all the border and the fencing of your farm was nothing but neem. And that's how the insects were being taken away from entering into your farm. So we had our own methodologies which we have to swap over back again if we want to have a good, healthy life and an ecological well-being between the two, between the nature and the human being. Otherwise, the nature is going to come back in a fury against us.
And I think so, we have to draw a lot of lessons from COVID-19 now. I see a lot of people doing kitchen gardening, growing their own vegetables and even fruits. But in the olden days, in our villages, we had all this.
Yes. You're taking me back, Juvit, to what was happening when I was a small child. I still remember we were all going as youngsters with our grandmothers, and they used to have their small little fields where they used to put mud walls, and inside that वाडो म्हण काडटाले, तातून भितर एक एकट्याक दोन बांदी मेळटाल्यो, तातून तुगे विरविल रोय, तुगे पोडोळी रोय, तुगे आनी कितें रोय, all your reached gourd, everything they used to plant, even cucumber, everything they used to grow. Brinjals, ladyfingers and all that. And आमकां काम कितें आशिल्लें, आमकां काम उदक लावपाचें, लाट म्हण आसताली, ना ते बेंदोल म्हण आसतालें, ते सामके यंगस्टर मातशे मसल बिसल मारपाय म्हण ते लाट मारली सकलाक उदक घातलें, everything was flooded and kept. आनी मागीर शेवटी आमकां कितें, एक नाल्यार दोन विरवील मेळटाले. That was our earning for what we used to do for all our people. But that was the way that we used to work, because we knew they're old, they cannot do this watering. Some of them who could, who would do that. But we were an additional component as youngsters to work with these people, to look after all this small little kitchen gardening, which was a community kitchen gardening, not in our own property, but which was a field that was being not used for anything during that time, was being used for this kitchen gardening, where the whole community used to come down. And they used to plant all the plants that they wanted, and they used to harvest and take back home.
This commercialization or over-commercialization has impacted our health.
Yes, very much. And that's something which we need to take care of. And COVID-19 has taught us a lesson to live with the nature, although we don't want to live with the virus.
but overall, we need good oil.
Yes, we need good oil.
You can't say no oil.
We need oils because that is something which is required, whether it is our endocrinology or whether it is our immunity. We need oils. Now the question comes is how much proportions, how are we going to use it? आम्ही लादायनी म्हणता वरताले, सायबिणी म्हण वताले. म्हाका याद जाता अजून पर्यंत आमचे जाणटे लोक आसा ते इतले दिताले आमकां. ते चिरमुल्यो जावं नाल्यार ते आमचे काबुली चना जावं.
हें माप आहलें.
माप. कित्याक आतां लोक विचारता कितली खावपाचें? पोटा भूक लागल्या इतली खा. तेन्ना सकाळ फुडें आंबील मारली की ना तूं सामको 11:30-12 So you would never have that hunger pranks because this is what was happening to us. But we have now destroyed the whole culture, whatever we used to do, and our temperaments are gone wild. We are living with the fast foods and we have destroyed our whole lifestyle. So if anybody used to go with like this, they would give you one slap over there, you're out of the line. You wouldn't get anything because this is not the discipline of having. What your body needs is only this much, and that's where you are. So discipline was being taught in how much you should consume for yourself, and everybody would get a lesson. And I think that's something which was very important for all of us to learn. But nothing was a written law or a written legislation that was there. But we have got a lot of things to study from the elderly people, what they did at their time.
And pre-liberation Goa, it was only coconut oil.
Yes. Yes, because that was the only thing that was being available for us to extract oil, because we did not have mechanization to do oil. We did not have refined products that were coming into Goa. So we were doing with whatever we required. And I think this brings us to what is called as the cottage industries. If you look into America today, they have got cottage industries. सोल्लां ज्यो विथ बाब आयज आतां पळोवपाक गेलो जायत तुका भिंडाची सोल्लां म्हणटा ती तरी म्हगे बायले सांगले जायत ती म्हणटा पाडा घाल तुजें ही भिंडा सोल्लां आपणाक कळना वगोर दिवपाक, बिकॉज दे हॅव नॉट बीन ट्रेन इन टू इट. But we have got people who are doing this and they are selling it to us. Why not start and give them a full-fledged cottage industry and provide this for the people, which is going to be a healthy food for all of us?
So I think there's a lot of food for thought for all of us. You have thrown a good light on our lifestyles and this corporate sector. And with that, we close our episode 3 of Health, Food and Bible. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you so much.